All right. Good morning, everybody. We are live and all set for today. So, welcome. Happy Monday to all, and welcome to Engineering the Markets. My name is Jared, and it is June 27th, 2022. What a interesting week last week. We had a shortened 4-day week due to Monday being off for Juneteenth in the markets. We have a full trading week this week, so 5 full days for us to engage with what the market is giving us. And as always, let's start our discussion with the S&P index. Let's talk about last week's performance because it was quite notable. One easy way to kind of perceive this is we did have essentially a market that started at the lows last week. We opened at the low. We closed essentially near the high. I mean, we're off by a few points near the actual close. But overall, this is a very impulsive, bullish style candle that was able to break last week's high and was able to fill some structural gaps on the daily chart. Um, whenever we see this kind of behavior, we are able to state, factually that the weekly bounce is underway. And really what this means is there is a structural downtrend in the market. On the weekly time frame, it is still intact. But this weekly bounce is the beginning of a counter trend move. And of course, that impulsivity that we saw on Friday, along with some of the discussions last week, where it's a very high risk area to go short the market due to the expansion, due to the number of deviations away from fair value or just from an area of interest to get short. All of these things were high risk, and of course the market likes to basically trap or frustrate into position locations that are poor. So the market did rally very aggressively, and I would say most bears from last week are either reconsidering their location or just having to manage risk as the market is starting this bounce. But when we look at the expected move from last week, a couple of number reminders. We had about 120 point expected move. It was a 4-day week as well. So this is very notable with our current expected move, which we'll get to in just a moment. That put our top side level at about 37.95. Now, you'll notice most of the week we actually spent some time trading at this upper bound, and for the most part it was respecting the fact that this was our risk range for the week. If you're an option participant, this is where basically some of the gamma risk starts to accelerate. If you get outside of this area, along with the fact that a lot of people sell premium outside of these ranges. And then of course on Friday we did have a rally that occurred after a gap up open. We then saw a very impulsive breakout on some economic data, and that of course facilitated a move into the close all the way up to about 390 or 3,900 in the S&P index. So from the perspective of expected move, our largest overall move last week from close to high was about 238 points. This is how much, directional risk you have to assume whenever you're trading week to week, if you're using expected move as your guide. The actual move from close to close, about 236, a couple of points off of the high up from last week. And what's more important is how far outside of the expected move did we close? I went ahead and added this little data point simply because I talk about it pretty extensively. The idea that the market recently has been a poor gauge of movement risk or volatility risk. And what this helps us understand is that if you are selling options premium, whether it be in the S&P or just products in general, a lot of the expected move bounds have not been good indicators of how much room you have to give your trade, the fact that the market's really not paying you for that directional risk. And as we've seen multiple weeks, what can happen is a lot of gapping structure can lead to rallies, whether they be bullish or bearish, moves outside of the expected. We saw it here. We now have a fourth occurrence of it here. And then, of course, there's a couple examples back in time. And then, of course, this one here. So, just looking back over, I think this is 6 weeks, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, approximately. I'll just say 5 weeks. So over the past month and a half, approximately, the market has not really been following the rules in regards to expected move. The option market has been getting it quite wrong. And what's notable about this is a market that's typically this inefficient is, for the most part, going to be continuing to be volatile until there is a pattern of repeated expected move closure. Something where the market showcases that what's being priced in is actually going to work for the volatility of the week. Now, whenever we see this kind of behavior, we're also going to look and see what our expected move is this week. And as you'll note, last week was a 4-day trading week, and the market only gave about 120 points of expected move. This week, the pricing is only about 112, and that's for a full 5-day trading week. I don't have the numbers drawn out explicitly here, but you can kind of see that with about a 3,900 close and about 112 point expected move, we're probably targeting a little bit above 4,000 for our upside expected move. And then, just bringing it back down, we're probably looking right around 3,800 as our lower bound, which puts our, our midline based on the close from last week. Now, the reason I bring this up is, from a technical sense, if we look at some of these levels, moving back down to 3,800 would bring us into essentially a back test. We have a nice structural inverse head and shoulders, which we'll look at on the SPY. We also have a fib retracement about 38.2 using the COVID lows and the all-time high. These are all just areas where we expect some market participation to occur. And if we do get that back test, that is where we maybe expect a new round of some buying support. And that's, of course, a big if for the week. Along with, if we keep pushing, if this is just a momentum move for the rest of the week, getting to 4,000 from the expected move boundaries is not out of the question. It's well within that range, and 4,000 would be a very, I would say, conservative target for the upside. It's mostly just about how are we going to get there? What kind of pullbacks are we going to see? And what's the trade look like in between? So depending on how you're maybe anticipating this week's trade to be, looking at 4,000 as a possible target, whether it be directly getting there over the next couple days, or maybe just ending there. Something as similar to what we saw last week, where a lot of our stronger option market open interest might start to settle around that 4,000 print. We can look at what it looks like currently, and we see that the open interest this week is a bit high for the S&P at about 4,000. This is not necessarily uncommon, as it is a whole dollar number. But along the way, we can also look to see, are there some stopping points that we can target? From the perspective of this particular series, it does look to be about every 25 S&P points. So we're getting a lot of participation along the way as we get to 4,000. This is also true on the put side, but you'll notice that the interest right now is a bit lighter. So therefore, as we kind of navigate through the week, we might take a look at some of the closer series. This is a product that does have an option series for every single day. But we might also take a closer look at this quarterly series. We are ending the quarter at the end of Thursday. We're also going into a new month and then basically the half year line. So it's a very important week for just the timeline perspective of where the market is headed and what may be next for the market to target. So as I pull up the quarterly series here, you'll notice the open interest is actually quite higher. And that's why I think this series is going to be really important this week. More for Thursday's trade, but if we make it here on Thursday, it's definitely true that by Friday we'll have a lot of participation around this key level. So keep all that in mind. Last but not least, just to kind of round out this discussion, the S&P did clear the 20% from all-time high boundary line. I didn't quite see as much news coverage, the fact that we are quote unquote, no longer in that bear market territory where we are trading below 20% from all-time high. That doesn't necessarily mean we're in a new bull market, but it is one of those important lines in the sand. You know, as coverage talks about entering a bear market, it's equally as important to discuss exiting a bear market location. And therefore, wanted to call that out, given that I didn't see a lot of coverage of that over the weekend. Okay, so as we shift back over into our S&P, you'll notice similar structure here. I just have that trading channel identified using our ETF product. And one thing I want to talk about here is the idea that the market is structurally going to continue this momentum until we see another defense. Bears have to once again establish, an area of selling pressure. And for the S&P, we'll be looking at this morning trade as kind of an indication of where bears might start to get back into the market or position around a risk level. When we look at our daily, we were able to fill up our gap. This is an important note for the week. In fact, we filled this gap up pretty much at the end of Friday's trade. So we actually pushed into that gap close within the past minute or two of Friday's trade. It was kind of an exciting landmark to watch. And then we do still have another structural gap sitting above us. I think for today's trade, because we're sitting inside of this momentum bearish candle, this trading session where we gap down and continued, gap and go, bears are likely to put some defense near the high of our trading session. We're not quite exactly at this price point, but we're getting pretty close, and definitely want to consider a little bit of a bearish lean if we see that defense come into fruition. One thing that can give you a clue as to whether that's going to occur, and it's kind of easier to see on the ES futures, although you will see it on the SPY as well. I'll pull it up to a 5-minute here just to show the nuance. There definitely is this idea of a trading channel that has formed over the after hours and pre-market session. What I usually like to see is a little bit of mid-channel defense in regards to breaking the channel bearish. Otherwise, the risk is still that we're just going from high to low on most of these moves. And obviously, what's notable here is that the bullish intent is a bit stronger. It's a bit faster. It tends to start and then not really stop much. Whereas the fade here takes a little bit more time. So the bearish intent is slower, but it's still, from a technical sense, tradable. The bullish intent might be a bit more aggressive. And if the bulls are not defending the next trend line test or support area test, we might see a bit more bearish behavior come in and attempt to break the low of that channel. So if you're looking for something for the morning trade, along with the fact that we are a bit elevated, we're not necessarily too high away from previous day's close. But if the market's going to continue its momentum, a pullback to PDC would be welcomed, and some defense around PDC would also be, building up for another leg to the upside. So there's a bit of a morning thesis idea that drawdown to PDC is well within reach. We're definitely a bit extended given how fast we've moved. And if they pull it down to PDC and then, of course, break high of day, that can set up for another momentum day or a trending style day in the market. Albeit, I think more often than not, we're going to chop before seeing another gap fill. It would be kind of an impressive feat to fill this gap immediately. So upside targets in the market, 4,000 or 400 in the SPY. We'll need our QQQ to obviously participate. And one thing I like about last week is the Qs were, for the most part, leading this rally. They had a stronger low to high percentage upside. The Qs gained about 9 to 10%, whereas the SPY gained about 6 to 7. They filled up their gap quicker. They had the same structural area of interest, but they were able to fill that up before Friday. And as you can see, they're already close to, if not entering into their second gap. So this is where, as we kind of build this thesis together, the Qs may be running for their upside targets a little quicker. And therefore, if you want to consider a bearish play, you might want to watch the Qs first. They'll potentially have the bullish momentum and get to their targets a little quicker. And a very obvious target here would be that 300 print. Whether we do that today or over the next couple of days seems fairly likely to at least test it. And then from there, if we see a good rejection, that of course would lead the SPY to also start to be more bearish in intention. And then last but not least, the IWM. Now, we haven't really talked too much about the IWM as of late. I wanted to bring it back up because I've kept a lot of the nuance on this chart. The idea that this is a gap that has been filled. This gap has been in existence since we broke out from our COVID high, previous all-time high. So this gap remained intact. We had some previous partial filling, but this was the first full gap fill that we saw last 2 weeks. We're also seeing the same bullish behavior here. So a lot of markets are, for the most part, correlated. Some are just leading a little bit stronger than others. So for the IWM, the bounce here, maybe not as high from a percentage perspective as the Qs, but obviously the behavior is equivalent. We're seeing, the response off of a low point. And, once again, I like to kind of remind of these gaps because they exist across all markets. IWM not necessarily even filling its first gap. We see a full gap fill maybe to this area, that could also initiate a potential trade for small caps. So no matter how you approach the market this week, I think it's more of a dealer's choice. And usually I want to talk through these ideas in a more general sense whenever the market is transitioning. It was fairly obvious last week that we were trying to bottom. The downside versus the upside was definitely more attractive for the bulls. And then, of course, that impulsivity on Friday has started a transition. We're moving to a new area of transactional value. The question is, where is it? Where do we expect bears to maybe put on a little bit more of a play? And obviously, if we are looking at the highest levels, the channel is definitely one to consider. We're nowhere near that particular target. It's above 400 or 4,000 in the S&P. And as we saw on previous rallies, we can even get above the channel for a period of time, even though the market still has the potential for downside in the future. So these are things to consider this week. Your bias, your overall consideration for trade how to target certain areas once a trade has triggered. And then, of course, engaging with these transactional zones, because when we are bouncing or when we are pulling back, we're entering areas that are already providing some data. So it's not like we're making fresh lows. We're not in an all-out sell-off, nor do we have to be looking back years or even in this case, like last couple of years. We don't have to be guessing as to which levels are going to provide the most impact. Short term, it's going to be based on the current trend. And then long-term participation, you can see, there is a zone of strong structural support here. We obviously looked below that area and then failed to move much lower before bouncing. So all things to consider as we enter this week. We've got the option market saying 4,000 is important. We've got the expected move with 4,000 in its range. And we've got a lot of correlation across multiple indices. When I'm looking at just the S&P, I do have to say there is a strong intention inside of healthcare last week. If you recall, we were looking at that sector rotation chart. The idea was if energy is no longer our leading sector, what is the most likely sector for them to consider as being another bullish behavior for an upcoming sector rotation? What I like about healthcare is the technicals are starting to become a little bit more favorable. We've circled back inside our stronger support zone. We've also come from an area of overextension, an area of underextension, and now we have VPOC. So we know there's a value zone here because of how the range is established. Really, the top end of the range was set here. The drawdown indicated that this was going to be more range-bound trading. So this is definitely helping the SPY. This move really looks percentage-wise about the same, but you can see how impulsive it is, especially on the days where the S&P wasn't all that bullish. You'll notice healthcare had really strong intention on Wednesday and Thursday, whereas the SPY was still bullish, but not necessarily making these types of moves. And then, of course, Friday, very impulsive back to the upside. So keep an eye out for this. Ideally, we'll see this market finish its move to VPOC, getting to this upside target at some point. We'll potentially draw back down to our support zone, maybe a little higher if it is going to be something that the market has a strong inclination for. And then we'll see this market get more into a bullish uptrend. Right now, this isn't necessarily an uptrend. It certainly has a lot of work to do with our moving averages. At this point, it's really just back testing value. But if we see things line up over time, this is definitely an area to watch. And this is mostly with the idea that energy is still drawing down. We're looking for that bounce on the oversold around this 70 price level. Financials are finding their footing. We're going to see if this low has a lot of importance. It's definitely the right area to target. 200 period weekly moving average. Strong bullish structure, just like the rest of the market. It's also back testing the highs. So that's kind of a confluence of areas all coming together. Financials can certainly have a bit of a rally here. Once again, just a bit oversold like the rest of the market. Not a good area to consider a short play, but obviously the bullish move, we'll see how far that goes as well. And then last but not least, our tech sector, which is going to look a lot like the S&P. It's obviously going to have some nuance with the NASDAQ, but seeing this rally, seeing all sectors kind of behave similar, that showcases how strong last week's rally was. It showcases that it wasn't just one or two participants. It was pretty much multiple areas of the market no matter where you're looking, utilities had just as strong of a reaction off the lows. And that's, of course, more defensive in nature. Staples, strong intention, even a breakout from our trend line perspective, a gap over the trend line. Very notable. So markets like to change very aggressively when there's potential for speculative play in the opposite direction. Um, the case for this being just another bear market rally is certainly there, but just like other bear market rallies, you want to let this one kind of peter out or taper out. Be careful getting short into this momentum. Look for pullbacks to potentially get into the momentum long, looking for more upside. Try not to chase this too much. And finally, watch out for what sectors are going to facilitate any sort of directional play. If we're looking at sector performance, you're basically fighting every sector in the market except for energy by being a bear. So if energy bounces, the rest of the sectors fade, that gives you more of an intention where we're getting a little bit of return to the energy trade. If we don't see that, or if the intention still remains very strong in more risk-on style sectors or just ones that have a lot of market cap for the S&P, you have to basically be careful of what the market's going to provide to the upside. You'll basically be fighting not only the trend, but the capital flow, the sector performance, and the market cap weighting of the entire market. So be very careful with that. Doesn't really matter how you look at it, but upside targets are set. We have some downside potential back to about 3,800 for a back test. Otherwise, look out for this momentum to continue before we see a top. I guess last but not least, I think I'll go ahead and call it here. Yeah, I'll leave that discussion for tomorrow. Was going to talk briefly about interest rates. We're seeing just another bounce on the uptrend. Keep an eye out for TLT, which had some strong bullish behavior last week. And obviously, this is going to be a big driver for what sectors can perform. So with all that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Markets. We'll look at this a little bit more closely. We'll talk about some trade ideas this week as well. Provided some of that last week for the room, but I've got a couple more that might be of interest, especially as we're going into a new quarter, a new latter half of the year, and just a new month with the S&P quarterlies about to come up on Thursday. So trade safe and stay tuned for pre-market prep with Carlos and Norm.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a PreMarket Prep. I hope everyone's having an amazing morning. Hope you guys had an incredible weekend. Peter, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, Carlos. I am fantastic, fresh off of our meetup in New York
Yes.
this weekend,
Yes.
which was great. And hello to everybody who attended with us and was able to say hi in person. So that was fantastic, including Carlos. So
Yes.
we,
Yes.
we
Absolutely. It
don't get
was
to see each other live very often, so that was wonderful.
that is very true. Very true. So yeah, really had a great time, guys. Thank you for those that made it out. It was a lot of fun. Um, All right, guys, let's get to it. Shout out to Jared for taking us through the engineering the markets early this morning, giving us an overview of what's going on with the markets, thoughts and ideas. So definitely thumbs up over on YouTube for that. This morning, my gappers list having a little bit of an issue, as you can see here. So I am going to try to look at the one here in the chat room. Let me see if I can actually do something here. Should have thought about this. Just came to mind, but I might be able to do something like this. Not sure if that's gonna work. Um, it's a little too small. All right, we'll figure something out. But for right now, I'll read out the watch list. We have a couple of stuff in the gappers list this morning on the green and the red. Overall SPY starting in the on the green. I don't know if it's gonna stay there. As you can see here, at the moment is dropping towards that previous day close with some good activity, by the way. As you can see here, starting up around eight. What was this? 8:15 or so. You're seeing some pretty good action towards the downside. So we'll see what happens there. And I'm showing you the wrong. There we go. Here it is, the 5 minute. So we'll see. I mean, the SPY had a great week, Peter. Let's go right to the overall market pulse and kind of what's happening with the SPY. Any major news and updates happening this week? Keep in mind, guys, the notes here, the U.S. economic calendar is not up to date. That is Norm's baby, and he'll be back tomorrow, so that will be updated when he comes back.
So that's a no, no, no to that calendar. So.
Exactly.
Um, Yeah, we came off a strong week last week with an especially strong Friday, which was a good sign to end the week as we sort of powered up throughout the day. This morning, pretty quiet on the markets so far. International markets didn't do much so far, anyways. Here in the U.S., the only market announcement we're expecting today of note really is the durable goods, which just came out actually. Now that I'm looking at it, a couple seconds ago, significantly over forecast. There's two other capital goods is coming out, and then the home sales index, which unless, well, maybe at 10 o'clock, the home sales index is coming out. And if there's a huge surprise, it's expected to be down 4%. If it comes in stronger or significantly weaker than that, then that may have an effect on the market. But, that's relatively mild news. I think today we'll just have to watch and see what the markets give us. I'm seeing a lot of stuff that is moving up, including, well, on our gappers. Carlos, I'm not sure you can maybe take an image of that and paste that in there, but so far on the gappers, really, we just got some of the Chinese offerings as that sector is moving up pre-market, which it often does. It's one of the few sectors that will get the volume pre-market, and then a couple of things that are just moving down. So we'll talk about those in a second. So, but overall, this is the type of trading day that I love. So let's get ready for a good week.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, guys, let's get to it. So here we start with gapping up. I'll read them out to you. If you're in the chat, if you're a member, you can see the scanners there. But let's look at AXSN. So if we hop into here, we are gapping up a nice 46%, guys. So nice big pop here on was awesome therapeutics. I guess is what they try to type there. But either way,
Awesome.
that looks pretty good there. Nice pop. Not sure what the news is, Peter. Anything worth watching this thing?
I don't see any news from this morning. Last news I have really is from a week ago. I'm just going to go check Trading Terminal to see if they have anything new there. But it's a relatively low float, 30 million shares in the float. So while it's above what I would normally consider a low float myself, it's sort of on the edge. And yeah, I don't have anything really new on it. So if anybody else in our room, especially, knows of some news, let us know. But I'm not seeing anything new. Somebody knows something though, right? Because it's jumping.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's jumping pretty nice here, 46% with some good volume, guys. 1.8 million shares traded so far. So that's definitely going to be on our list this morning. So let's go ahead, Control A, Control X and we will make some room here. Oops. Hold on. It is a lower flow stock, guys. So I mean, it's at 30, right? And it's moving like a low
Yeah,
flow
there you
today.
go.
So I am gonna put them down here. That is going to be ASXSM. There we go. Oop, too many S's there. We'll take that one out, and there it is. So AXSM is on the list, guys. Very active this morning. Let's see if we can hold this pop, right? If this thing starts coming down here, then it's going to be no fun. We need to be able to hold this movement here, find some support, and back towards that high of the pre-market. Next one here is YUMC. So YUMC this morning. Oh, no. This is no good. This is horrible, guys. It's just nothing happening here in the pre-market. Let's move on to JD. JD this morning gapping up 4% right now, 316,000. Not bad. I mean, I wish the pre-market activity will look better on JD. Can I get the volume later? Absolutely. On the fence, maybe a possible for now. Possible at this moment. And here we got a couple of Chinese stocks, as you mentioned earlier, too. We got Billy, we got Futu, Becky, PDD, all in the Chinese sector there. Let's take a look at a few of these. Maybe PDD this morning. What do we have going on there? Just pop, no volume really. Futu this morning. Also, again, they're gapping up, but there's not a whole lot of volume today. How about Neo? Anything with Neo? Neo's got the volume and not gapping up as much, but still looks much interesting than these other ones that are gapping up 3%, 3.2 that just have no activity in the pre-market. I'd rather watch something like Neo this morning. So I'm going to put Neo on deck, guys. I think that's good for us. Heading down, we have Robinhood. And Robinhood this morning is up 2.4, 445. I'm not aware of any news on Robinhood, but either way, even with news, this is one of these tickers that trades so bad. I don't think I have ever traded Robinhood since the IPO'd. It's just not the price action is not it's not good for me. I don't like it at all.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree with you. I've never managed to find good trading action on it. So it's moving today. I mean, it's continuing news about what is Robinhood going to do. Same type of news we had. I guess it was last week.
yeah.
This is like I said last week. Has moved into meme territory. So if you choose to trade it, just know that. It could be jumpy, and especially if it's not like getting that huge volume that it did last week. I mean, it might still, but so far it's looking a little milder, which means that it's just likely to be more difficult to trade, and there's probably better options out there.
Yeah, agree 100%, guys. Let's take a look at what's gapping down this morning. So now we're heading into SIGA, and this was very active last week. They had, I forgot, gapped up a few times here, had a nice little run. Today they're gapping down 10%, 385,000. So that's not fun. This is a hit or miss. I know you can catch some really good moves, and this thing can move very aggressively. So I'll put it as a possible. It is in play. Obviously, they got some serious gap down here and some nice volume. Just be careful with it. I'm not a huge fan of it. I might take it off before I end this list, but let's see what it does. All right, heading down, we have
SIGA.
yeah,
Sorry, SIGA is one that last week, if you remember, was jumping up on their monkeypox treatment and the
yeah,
expectation that out of the EU, there's going to be a big order. And they did announce late last week that there was an order of their monkeypox treatment, but it wasn't as big as the market expected. And I think there's going to be, with no further announcement, I think there's going to be a little bit of concern that they sort of pumped it up too much too early on that.
yeah,
I mean, it
yeah.
went from $9 to about 13.50, 13.40. So we may see a little pullback this week unless we get some news. So if you're going to watch SIGA, I would say this is going to be all about the news, right? If they announce some other orders, then expect it to suddenly move strong. Otherwise, it may just fade.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. What's the float on this? This is sitting at 40, so it's not a low float, but in the 40, not bad. Be
About 40
mindful of
minutes.
that. Yep. We have DWAC this morning. Again, this one I rarely keep on deck. I just don't like the way it trades. This is down 9.5. So look at the hits this thing's been taking the last couple of weeks, really. And I don't know. Can't remember what happened here on June 14. But was this like the anything with Twitter or something? I'm not sure. But man, this
There
is
was if I remember back then, there was an announcement about it was going to combine, because DWAC is sort of
hmm
really just a holding company for sort of that Trump group of companies, that they were going
yeah.
to sort of combine a number of the companies, uh, and so that was like the news that pushed it. I think there was also an SEC I don't know, review, investigation, something. But I mean, those things tend to
Yeah.
move slowly. Um, so this morning I'm seeing some news about that SEC probe continuing, but it doesn't actually have any news as to is it good, is it bad, is it closing down, or is it problematic for the company? So I don't know. This could just be moving on speculation. Like you said, DWAC is a tough one. It moved
Yeah.
really well for the first couple of weeks after it came, after it
Hmm.
opened, and everybody was sort of
Yeah.
jumping into it. But ever since, yeah, it's sort of become a little challenging, and the spread can be really high on this one.
Yeah, even at a low price, the spread is horrible, and it's just again doesn't get volume. I mean, it really does not get any type of volume. You look at this day here, we're dropping from 38 to 26, and we did that with 3.8 million shares. That's not good. That's not a good sign. So let's skip on down over to Save this morning. So we got one of the airlines on deck here. Speaking of airlines, I know you and Andrew both got delayed. And it's just crazy. There's not one person that comes into NYC that's not delayed either in or out. In the few times
Yeah.
I've flown now, it's same thing. It's just delays all over the place. Just they can't figure this thing out. So
Yeah, I mean, my conclusion after traveling this weekend is air travel is broken in North America,
oh
and
yeah,
they're struggling to figure it out. I actually, I got where I needed to go, but it took a lot more work on my part than it should have. And yeah, it
hmm
seemed a little chaotic when different airport employees are arguing with each other about how to manage things. I mean, to me, the system is just broken. If we're
yeah,
as a
yeah.
passenger sitting there going, you guys figured out the airlines were arguing with security about letting us through and then it's just like, I don't know what's going on. Like all you can do is go with the tide. So it's a little strange these days if you're going
Yeah,
anywhere. So
yeah.
leave lots of time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's and if you plan something for that same day, I wouldn't do it. Plan it for the next. Get there a day before,
Yeah.
because it is bad. It is really really bad, and that's why actually Andrew changed his the meetup. It was supposed to be the 24th. Then he realized how bad it can be getting in on time,
Mhm.
and we moved it to Saturday. All right, let's do this, guys. So save this morning. We're down 5.6. Did the deal finalize with these guys with JetBlue? I know JetBlue continues to give them a better deal, kind of sweeten the pot a little bit. I wonder if that's took place. I haven't looked that up, but they're down right now 5.6.
Yeah, nobody's finalized anything. They how they keep sweetening the deal. Well, the news this morning is that the Frontier Airlines sweetens its takeover bid, adding an extra $2 a share to their offering price. So it seems like these guys just keep trying to outbid each other. I mean, I guess it's good for this company, the fact that they're being bid upon, but
Yeah.
it's creating a little bit of a challenge. Weirdly, I find it weird. Anyways, if anybody's watched Save during the market hours, it still is not moving that well. Like I would think
No,
that with
no.
this news and the continued interest, you just get some good trading opportunity and better volume. But the reality is that at least from what I've observed, I'd still rather go back and trade the American Airlines or United, where you get consistent volume. Save, despite all of this, is still only averaging about 5 million shares. Well, at a high, sort of 3 to 5 million a day. So, I think we need confirmed news of this thing being taken over before we'll finally get some big volumes and the ability to day trade it.
Yeah, I agree. It's not great by any means. All right, let's look at coin next. So we'll put save as a possible just in case, but I don't think we're gonna get anything good out of that. Coin right now down 5.2. Volume is very light though compared to what we've seen in the pre-market out of coin. But they are down this morning 5.2. That could be interesting. I mean, we know how bad these companies are getting beat up here, but at the moment it needs more volume because coin can trade heavy volume as we've seen in the past. It was on some really good pre-market activity. Here is Lee this morning. They are,
Just on Bitcoin
yeah,
overall, Bitcoin has been hanging out right around this $21,000 area, and I think it's continuing to make the markets nervous. So, as long as we see it still stagnating, as it's been for a week and a half, I suppose, just sitting right on that verge, right? If it
yeah,
drops
yeah.
below 20, all hell is going to break loose. But
I agree.
but
Oh yeah.
it is sort of, It's holding it. I'm not suggesting it will. I really have no idea. But I also think if it goes up above 22, 23 and stays there for a day or two, everybody will calm down. And I think you might see it start to climb. Bitcoin's and the whole cryptocurrency is obviously struggling these days with lots of conflicting news out there. So I would just say if this is an area you're focused on in your trading, be aware of those tides. And this thing could become unpredictable. Right now, it's fairly stable, but I expect unpredictability at any point in time. Now,
Yeah,
Carlos, you'd
yeah,
started to move to the EV sector. We saw a lot of news in the EVs last week. LI, I think, was the one that was on your list. And it obviously had, well, I mean, what, like 3 weeks, I guess, of just, the entire month of June was just up, 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 and up. So
yeah,
finally
yeah,
on Friday was when it looked like it sort of stabilized the price action. It sort of did this big drop a little bit after the open, came back and recovered it. But and that was on pretty much, well, I don't know if it was record volume, but it was pretty high volume, I know. So today could be a time to play Lee if that volume continues, but keep an eye on it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have
Lee
any news.
definitely becomes
See.
one of the favorites. It's just getting a lot of activity, and the movements you're getting here are just insane. So Lee's on deck right now. It's down 3% at the moment, 485. But again, I don't be short bias on this, guys, because this stock has found a way to just take off here. So just be careful. Don't have a bias that this thing is going to start dropping. Very careful.
If you don't mind the price, I mean, Tesla is still one of the best trading stocks in the sector, right? Because there's so many
Yeah,
people watching it. There's tons of volume. I mean, it's had some good moves. I mean,
yeah.
I don't say they're easy because I watch it, but Tesla makes me nervous. But there's been some interesting moves on it. But yeah, it's just the price is still so high that it's tough. Up at seven, where are we sitting this morning? 748, right? On
748.
Tesla.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It trades so clean, but the morning open on this thing, it trades very aggressive. You gotta. I
Mhm.
like it better at the later parts in the afternoon, in the morning or afternoon. Man, at the open, this thing can get going really aggressive, like $5, just like that.
Yeah.
So be
Yeah,
very
exactly. You
careful.
got to
Yeah,
have a big stop and just have conviction in the move, and either it'll work or it won't. And
yeah.
I personally feel there's little you can do, because if you try and manage that movement, especially when the spread on this thing will go from 20 cents to $2 in a heartbeat. So
Yeah,
you got to be
yeah.
careful.
All right, so that covers our gap down list. Let's take a look at our gap up. I don't see anything else that has popped up over here, so I think we're looking pretty good so far. Peter, what do you like this morning on your end?
It's pretty quiet, like I said earlier, so nothing special. AMD has relatively good volume, but not great price action. So I don't know where this volume came from at 8 a.m. My good old tinfoil line. We
Yeah,
saw some decent volume, but it's not enough to account for the 1.5 million shares that I'm seeing reported traded so far today. So, anyways, I mean, I'll always watch. I'll always watch AMD, and that's a little bit above average volume. Other than that, Apple and Amazon and Meta, right? It's sort of my tech type companies that I just like to watch because they always move fairly well. When I get a day like this where there's nothing specific happening, I tend to
yeah,
gravitate back towards those.
yeah. I agree today. I mean, look at our list. It's really light this morning. There's not a whole lot that looks great. But AMD will be a good one. I like AMD's daily today too. It looks so clean here. You could clearly see the levels of support and resistance. We're sitting on right now. This previous day close, so that looks very clean to me. And Amazon, it's been fun to watch. It actually trades very well and it gets great volume. So that's another good one.
Mhm.
All right, guys, let's take it to the room. Let's see what you guys have this morning. We have AMD on deck. Michael, you're giving us a Cisco. It's a CSCO. Yep, here we go. So Cisco Systems, and these guys are, they got 2 million here, which again similar to AMD, and I think we have confirmation that when you see that, right, 2 million, but you're definitely not seeing that here at all. Those are just block trades being recorded, so it's not really creating any big pre-market activity. Now, it's yet to be confirmed. Does that mean anything? How well would this trade if it's not in the pre-market activity? Is important. So day looks interesting. You're sitting against this previous day close, and you have been stuck within this range for a while. I'm just concerned that if you're not getting this nice pre-market activity, you might not attract a lot of retail traders in this one, unless there's some news that comes out. So that's my concern with
Friday
this.
after the Friday
Yeah,
after the close, was it Friday? Yeah, I think it was Friday after the close. There was some news that the courts had reversed. There was like a $2.7 billion judgment against Cisco. And that got reversed by Virginia. No, but anyway, some circuit court judge. So that is news that could be tradable today, because I said it came out after the market close on Friday. That being said, Cisco is not something that's normally easily tradable to me. So I might actually put it on a list just to see if it if it does something. But usually I'm disappointed.
That is the only reason why I'm adding it on here, because I don't like what I see here, and typically, unless they have some serious news like here, I believe was earnings, right? We have some good movement. Outside of that, I don't think this thing does anything good for us. But let's see. All right, AMD's on deck. That one is good. Let's take a look at BABA this morning. We have we are down. I'm sorry, we're up 1.6 right now, 627,000. I mean, BABA has been so good to us this entire month. I mean, yeah, I'll watch it because personally, I know I'm gonna want to trade this one if it does anything great. So I'm definitely going to add BABA to the list here. Heading down, what else we have, guys? AMD, we have on deck already. Roblox, thoughts on Roblox? Let's see here. RBLX. Let's see. They had a nice run the last week and the week before. You can see here a couple of nice green days, well in the green here. 31, 34, 35, 37. So they've been moving well. I know that their pre-market activity now doesn't look good, but I mean they've been crushing it the last week here. Now notice you are getting to a little bit of resistance here, and they have had problems getting. Let me go ahead and delete this here. Here we go. Had some issues getting above this quite some time, right? The last 2 days they were able to get above that there. Can they hold and get going? That'll be nice, but they clearly got over this area of resistance they had here since mid-April. So that could be interesting coming back down, or maybe they're not over it. Maybe they want to come back down below 34. Who knows? But interesting daily. Apostle for me. It could be something today. Roblox, RBLX. Okay, perfect. All right, so that's Roblox. We have Axis daily, low volume right now, which is typically okay, Gem. Usually Axis does not get great pre-market activity, and it can still trade very well throughout the day, right? So right now the daily looks good. I agree with you there. Down up 1.7, 884,000, but we will know a lot more into the market open on this one. So I'm gonna add it. Here's the reason why, because I know some of these like probably like a JD, SIGA, coin. I'm probably gonna take off. In fact, let's do it now. I don't think it has enough volume for me to look at coin today. So we'll get that out of the way. SIGA, I'm not a huge fan of. I think it could be a little choppy at times. I would prefer to watch this one here, Oxy, on the list today. And Oxy has traded, it's a hit or miss, but it has traded very well in the past. You can see here on these days, if you go into the details, they're very clean movements when you move like this. So let's see what happens today. It's gonna be fun. All right, guys, I think I'm all set. I like what I have right now. I mean, it's not a great list, but I like NEO, I do like Lee, and I do like Tesla. I think these three are really good. And then our usual suspects, AMD, Amazon, and we have BABA here, which have been, they haven't always put in a great pre-market activity, but they can most likely trade better than the stuff we have here. So that's how we're building that list today. All right, anything else, Peter, before I go over to announcements, and we'll go over to the website?
I have nothing else that I think we should be looking at right now. No.
All right, excellent. All right, guys, let's go to our community events and announcements. We'll come back and fine-tune this list in a second.
Well, welcome to yet another week of activity here at the Bearable Trading Room and our whole platform of excitement and activity. It's Monday, which means that we welcome all our new members. So welcome if you're new to the community, and if you want to get a better understanding as to how the community functions, how you can take advantage of all the services that we offer, or you just want a refresher, then join the onboarding course. That's with Carlos himself, 7 o'clock. That's in our classroom. You can go sort of join that, and even if you're just an intro member, then that's the key class you want to sort of pay attention to, and he will sort of take you through the sort of give you the tour, if you will. We also have do we have a technology class today? I guess we do, with Kyle right afterwards.
Yes, we do. Yep.
Excellent. So Kyle does the technology sort of Q&A, also provides information as to how you can take advantage of the platforms that you're probably using. It's funny, one of the people I met at the meetup on Friday his name was Kyle, and every single person said, "Are you the Kyle?" He's like, he didn't know what we were talking about because it was really his wife that was the trader, and he ended up telling everybody, "Hi, I'm Kyle. I'm not Kyle Hotkeys." So I thought that was very entertaining. So Kyle is a legend, and if you want to know about hotkeys, he is certainly the guy to go to. So that's also happening tonight, 8:00. Tuesday is all about strategy and trade book oversight. So this week, I have the privilege of being able to present at 8:00 in our webinar room. I'm going to talk about trading a single stock. Anybody that knows me knows that AMD generally is my go-to stock. So I'll talk about what are the benefits and downsides of focusing on a single stock. And then next week, oh my God, next week we're July already, but Carlos, July the 5th, will be leading a session on analysis and risk management. So that'll be a great session. Don't miss that one. Both of those, 8:00. Wednesdays are psychology. And this Wednesday, we're going to have Randy Howell with us talking about how to keep your emotions under control. As we know, anybody who's traded live money knows that, you think you've got it when you're in sim and you go live and suddenly it doesn't feel the same. And often that can lead to losses that you weren't expecting or trading differently than the way you were when you had it all nailed down in sim. So he's going to give you some insight and some recommendations as to how you can manage that. Again, 8:00 this Wednesday, the 29th of June, once again in our webinar room. Next Wednesday, Dr. Kenneth Reed will be with us talking about the 10 things you need to know about bear markets. Obviously, this is built for you in this market conditions. This is what we need to understand. So he is an experienced and longtime trader himself. So he absolutely knows what he's talking about, and he often combines the psychology with the real world trading advice and expertise. So those are great sessions. Thursdays are all about mentorship. And in our mentorship series, we have a bunch of stuff kicking off with John at 11 a.m. in the room for all of our elite members. He sort of answers your questions and goes over sort of specific topic of interest that we can dig into deeply. That's at 11 o'clock, like I said, during market hours, but it gives everybody an opportunity to participate. Ed often gives us insight while he is in his own chat room, which runs simultaneously with the main Bear Bulls chat room all the time. And he's always willing to answer questions. But here he focuses on areas of knowledge that is always good. And that's usually on Thursdays, either at 4 or just before the market close. And then Thor, consistent as a watch. With his mentorship, he loves these sessions because it gives him a chance to dig into topics really deeply and interact with all of our members, especially those that have questions that they want to have answered. So attend that on Thursdays if you want to gain his insights, especially if you trade volume or you use the Camarilla pivot points. Then he is your go-to guy. So that's our lineup for the week. All day, every day, you can access our stock trading simulator. It's completely free. We will not spam you with emails. We'll not try and sell you 1,000,001 things, that we promise. But it just gives you a chance to test and out theories. Play on the markets. You can trade any stock from any day at any time. It's 1 day in arrears, so you can't trade live. It's only sort of after the day is closed. We then load up the data so that it's available for you the next day. But you can go back 2 months ago and start trading, sort of that market and see, sort of how your strategies work. So it's a great testing tool that you can use to gain some experience. We also have the trading terminal, which I strongly recommend you use. It's what I've been checking the news on all morning. It gives you information about the markets overall, individual stocks, active news items. We got the Benzinga feed. All that stuff is available through the trading terminal, which Carlos has very kindly thrown up on the screen there. You can get earnings reports, IPOs, which I watch every day. We don't seem to have any for this morning, unless we get some of the offerings that didn't open last week, by the way. We got a couple that, actually, I see it listed here for Tuesday, BIAF, that got pushed. So, it's been pretty light, by the way, on IPOs recently, but I expect that that's going to continue for a little while. Usually people like to hold their IPOs, of course, until, they want an upswinging market, because that gives them a better opportunity to get value out of their offering and make sure that the price appreciates at offering at the point of open to the public. So anyways, IPOs aside, check out tradingterminal.com because it's got lots of great stuff for you in there. And if you wanted to join the community, the chat room itself, and take advantage of our educational material, then come check us out. The code PreMarket24 gives you that access to the chat room all day, both chat rooms, in fact. You can test them out because we got very different trading approaches that happens at Ed's chat room versus the main chat room. But with our live moderators, you can really actively ask questions as well as hear sort of what we're thinking, what we're looking at, and get insight from all of the other members that are there that are also providing thoughts on what they're seeing and what they're looking at and trading. So anyways, use that code PreMarket24 and you get access to those chat rooms as well as that onboarding class, which happens tonight. So this is a great time to sign up because you'll get to do the onboarding class right away and they get full advantage of it throughout the rest of the week. And if you decide to sign up with an annual membership, Dr. Kenneth Reed is very kindly offered to give all of our new members signing up a one-on-one coaching session that is invaluable in terms of being able to just accelerate and leapfrog you ahead of where you could be on your own. So take advantage of that using the code READ50 to get not only a discounted rate, but that free one-on-one coaching session if you sign up for an elite membership. With that, I will hand it back to Carlos to do some levels.
All right, Peter, thank you very much. All right, guys, let's get to it. Let's get some levels in here. I see we got Bear Bull Traders username. Is that a bot? We have a smart bot in our chat.
No, I don't know, do we?
No, I don't know. I just never seen it. I never seen the Bear Bull Traders sign on there. Guys, over on YouTube, we're sitting at 173 likes. Our goal today will be 400. If you can help us get there, we'll really appreciate it. And we'll get ready to set here and go on some levels. Let's see what we got going on. So far right now on deck, we have Neo, which looks very active. I'm starting to see that nice little drop there. Lee as well, dropping, also looking very good, 551. Again, this thing has been so strong, guys. We'll see what it does today. Getting a little down this morning. Tesla has been very active. Just be careful with the open on this one. It can be very aggressive. We have AMD on here. I have Amazon, which actually has been really good. And we also have Baba as well on deck, which, by the way, look at the strength on Baba the last couple of days. It had a huge drop here back to 100, now back to 120. That is the most recent high we've seen quite a bit. It's had troubles getting above that, right? So let's see what it does. And not because of its own trading. I think every time it gets up here, the market starts selling off or we have some negative news that's been dropping this thing. So we'll see what it can do today. So really like Bob has been trading so well again this entire month. It really has done really good for us. So let's see what it brings today. All right, perfect, guys. Let's get to it. Let's look at Neo. We'll do some levels here. Love the volume right now, 1.7. And if we go to the high of the pre-market, we're sitting all the way at 24.75. But even though we have this 24.75, right, that is your high of your pre-market there. It's also noted here. You can look at your montage on Dash Trader Pro or any of your platforms. It should give you the range, right, depending on who you're trading. So that's your low. That'll be also include the high of the day when you get to it, and also the low. So that's the range there. This area here, this 24.41 is worth marking down because you can constantly see the troubles you're having getting above this 24.41. So you're going to want to have that on your list. I mean, that obviously showing a little bit of importance this morning, even when we got some volume here. We started to get volume at 8 a.m. You can see the struggles trying to get above that. We're well away from that now in the red here. Low of the pre-market down 23.90. But if in case we do bounce, you do want to have that level on check there. Towards the bottom, guys, our highs and lows are doing a pretty good job. 23, good area of support. And over here, 22 as well. If we do decide to drop, we got some good levels towards the bottom. Now, towards the top, we have a little bit of action on top of this range around February, March timeframe. So here's our ping pong action between the highs and lows of the last two trading days, pre-market highs. But here we do have 26, 25. And we also have this area here, 25.59 is pretty good. So good stuff there. I think we're all set on Neo. Neo can be very explosive, guys, but it trades very well. So I love the volume this morning. That's definitely one of my favorites. Lee here, we do have a drop of 2.7, continues to sell off here after, again, having such a beautiful rally the last all of June, like you mentioned, Peter. This thing has just been tearing it up. So we'll see what happens. 39.49 is the low of the pre-market. The high of the pre-market sitting right below the highs from 2 days ago. I'm from not from the last trading day, 41.40. So right there, that's your high of your pre-market so far. Right now, as we're sitting here between the highs and lows, previous day close, I don't really think you need to add anything else as far as levels. If we break up 41.40, then we can go to the left here and get some levels. But right now, you got some pretty good levels at the moment. I think you can sit tight for that. Just keep it simple. Here is Tesla. I'm going to remove some of these levels because they're just overlapping our highs and lows of the last two trading days, as you can see here and obviously here. So if we move those out of the way, there you go. They're just doing a pretty good job towards the bottom. You do not need to add anything else, guys. There's plenty of levels there. Towards the top, high of the pre-market, 755.28. And if we look above that, we got a couple of days here. We have obviously this one up here, 791. And then we have this area here, which I like, 773.04. So if you draw a line right on, they got a couple of days, 1, 2, and 3, opening, slamming up against that and then closing at that 773.04. So obviously there's some importance there. You got a couple of days getting around there as well, opening, closing right around that area also. So that could be important. But if you look at the price action now, again, looking pretty good right here, 690. And the Tesla just been so explosive, especially at the open, guys. Again, we talked about Tesla doing a lot of this, huge pops. It's great for like a 1 minute, open range breakup because it can get going very quickly. But guys, if you find yourself in the wrong side of Tesla, get out quick because it can really run very aggressive against you. I like AMD's daily today, looking very nice here. We did get above this like not choppy, but consolidation we had here. Had a really nice day on Friday, like many stocks did with the SPY popping up here. So high of the pre-market for AMD is going to be 88.61. I like this for a possible run towards the top because it just looks so clean in this area. You got a couple of really good levels up here, 91.81. Obviously, this one here also 94.29. And I'm also going to mark down this area here. You got a lot of days opening, closing around 91.23. You could also see on the gap down here. That is where it opened up. I guess it tried to hold there, try to come back up, and it couldn't. Then you had the nice sell-off over to the previous day close. So just really good levels. This is a great thing about having a good daily, right? So, when you have a good daily, these levels are easier to find of support and resistance. So that makes it much easier, much better to watch these stocks that can trade good, get volume. You clearly know where you can aim for some stop losses or even targets. Amazon this morning, low of the pre-market 116.19. So we'll throw a level there. High of the pre-market, we're sitting at a 118.09. And then towards the bottom, guys, you have plenty. I am only going to add one level, which is off this date here, this 114.44, because I do see a little bit of action happening there as well. So that's a good midpoint between the highs and lows of the pre-market from the last 2 days ago. So I think you want to have that on there. And then above all of this, previous day close, high of the pre-market. If we look up here, it's a beautiful level here, by the way. Look how clean this is. 121.06. That is just perfect right on there. Definitely want to note that down. And if we were to rally here, which again, we're going to need a lot to get going if we are going to get anywhere between like 129, even 124. It's going to need a lot of juice here. Help from the SPY. Don't know if that's going to happen yet. We'll see. But 124.31, 129.28, some really good levels towards the top here. You're pretty all set there with Amazon. And here's Baba, guys. This stock, it's definitely my MVP for this month, no question. 120.58, high of the pre-market, the low of the pre-market, 119.45. And then if we go to the left here, we're back up to where we were, a couple of weeks ago, where we had a nice rejection, and we're back up there again. So let's see if we can this time can get going. We're going to go to the left here a little bit, and in March we did hit a high here around 123.73. So we'll slam a level there. You get good confirmation here as well between February and looks like January of that level, getting a lot of touches. And then above that, we do have 129.33. So we'll see what it does here. Bob is looking very good right now. 1.5 million shares traded. So you got the volume. You got the nice continuation here of the last couple of days. Let's see if this thing can get going. And if it doesn't, it could still be a great opportunity for the short side. It just trades so clean. It has been. So you can have opportunities both ways here. I think we'll wait for the market to see what the market decides to do, if it's going to move in any direction. With that said, let's actually check what the market is doing. Trying to hold the previous day close here. Got a couple of bounces off of that right now, but it's not looking so strong to stay in the green, as we're kind of holding a little bit of a downtrend here, going back against that previous day close. So we'll take a look at that. All right, we're pretty much set, guys. Our possible this morning, I have Oxy, I have Roblox, we have Meta, Facebook here dropping a little bit today. Again, many of these stocks having a nice green day yesterday. We got Spirit Airlines, just so much going on there with JetBlue and Frontier. I would think with like Peter said earlier, with the interest people have in this stock, this thing will be actually going higher or at least holding and not dropping like this. But who knows what's going on? What the idea is there, but it could be interesting. JD is on here too. It has a nice gap up this morning of 4.5. I think it's a little bit on the higher ones of the Chinese stocks that's gapping up this morning. So that could be interesting, but I haven't traded JD in a while, so I'm not going to keep this one on here. And then we have CSCO, which has great volume, but again, just looking horrible. But I want to keep it here because we want to see if there's 2 million shares traded, if that means anything for the market open, right? So we'll have to check that out. Brett, so scanners will be back on tomorrow. I just had a problem with my login, so my login expires. We'll be back on tomorrow, and we'll show it to you guys here. So tomorrow we'll have them, but they are available in the chat room right now, so we have them there. But tomorrow we'll get them in our situation here. So all right, I think we're all set, guys. 260. We still have not been able to reach our goal. So if we could get to 400, guys, appreciate it very, very much. Hit that thumbs up. We had an amazing meetup, which was a lot of fun, Peter. To see you, Ryan, Artie, and Andrew, and the rest of the members was a whole lot of fun. So if you made it out, thank you so much. And if you have pictures, tag us in on Twitter. Post them on Twitter, tag us. We'd love to see them. I didn't take a lot of pictures because we were busy chatting away. We had a photographer. Can't wait till we see his pictures come up. So we'll share those as soon as we have them. But man, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun seeing old faces and new ones. It was a real good time.
I was so busy talking away and with a drink in hand, I never took a single picture myself. So
Yeah, me neither, man. I didn't pull out my phone, and it's funny. I text my wife something. I forgot what it was. It was a number of a friend that she needs to contact. Either way, and it didn't go through. Like there was no connection down there at one point. So so it was nothing coming in. So I was like, okay, it is what it is, man. I focus on what I'm doing. So not that I would be looking at my phone anyway. We had such a good time with everyone there. Martha, we have Ryan. I mean, David from Connecticut. The list goes on and on. Das, who's been with us for a while.
We need we need to call these people out because some people promised they would reach out to me this morning, like Martha. So and Irenia, I want to see, and
yes,
a few
yes.
people.
Mustafa was there, which I think it's like his third meetup that he comes to in New York. I mean, it's just a lot of fun, and there's some really new faces that's just joining us. So it was great, a lot of fun.
There, we guilted them into saying hi. So some of them saying hi in the chat room here. So that was fantastic. And yes, and Ryan and Gabby and a number of people that were there. So fantastic. So
yes,
Gabby V.
Gabby V. So Gabby puts on his name. He puts he puts actual name. And I come to like, oh, Gabriel. I'm like, oh, no, it's Gabby B. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, still fun, but like, then what he did was he went back and changed his name tag to Gabby V so people won't confuse him. But good to see you, man. Good to spend time there. It was a lot of fun.
Ryan, I can see saying hi here. Ryan was out again. Ryan's come out to them for a couple of years, so it's fantastic. Yeah. Jeff, I remember you, Jeff Jefferson. Can't forget you, sir.
Yes.
So yeah, fantastic. Everybody, anyways, don't want to miss anybody, but it was a lot of fun. It's always great sort of being put, especially, we talk to you all day, all the time, and you get to hear our voice and see us on the microphone, but we just see your text and the little thumbnail image. So it's always good to know that we're real people on either end of this conversation every day, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get to our watch list here, guys. So we have from our moderators lineup this morning, we have Mike watching Baba, JD, and BA. Demo will be watching Amazon, Baba, AMD, and Apple. Susan will be looking at the SPY, Lee, and Neo. Thor, overall market there, Baba, BA, and AMD. I see a couple of you guys looking at BA, so we'll look at that next, see what's going on there before we hop off. Megan, look at the SPY and XPEF. No IPOs for today, as Peter reported earlier. And Peter, your list of scores, AMD, Amazon, Baba, and secondary list, AX, SM, Lee, and Oxy. Jared, Baba, Oxy, and X. So let's take a look at BA quickly before we hand it off, guys. As we continue our market open here in our chat room for our members, we have BA had a good day yesterday. Any news on BA? I feel left out. I feel like I have to add BA because everybody else is watching it, and I don't want to have FOMO. So I'm going to put BA at least as a possible here, guys. See what goes on there.
Is
All
there any
right.
news? Let's see if there's anything new.
Yeah.
Well, SpaceX apparently won some contracts off of Boeing, so that's sort of bad news against them. Boeing's had a couple of, in the last 2 weeks, they've had a couple of news articles where they are potentially losing orders to competitors. So that seems to be, providing a little bit of a challenge for them. Their stock, I mean, it's still doing okay. In fact, they're in an area, if they break out over this 141.50 area, I think we could see BA run. It tends to just shrug off any negative news in my experience, and I can never seem to figure out where the heck it's going. But anyways, news this morning, lost some contracts to SpaceX.
All right, we'll see how that affects them. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on YouTube. We are just shy, almost just a little bit below 50 on our goal. If you could help us there, that'd be great. Tonight, 7 a.m. onboarding class, guys. Do not miss it. Myself and will be there, and we'll kind of answer any questions you guys have, give you an overview of the entire community. So come hang out with us. And then after that, we do have our tech class this evening. So do not miss it. Trade safe, guys, as we get started this week. Let's see how the SPY is going to end. And we'll see you again tomorrow here at 8 a.m. with Jared engineering the markets. And then right after that, myself and Norm is back tomorrow. But if he's not, we have a great coverage. Peter will be joining us again tomorrow. Peter, thanks for covering. If you're not on tomorrow, I appreciate it very, very much. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Take care.
All right. Take care, everybody. Let's trade safe.